Fadl Khalid.
What's the ruling on tattoos and what are the proofs?
Tight. We'll take Khalid's question first. Nafis, you clearly said questions on the floor.
Yeah,
If I'm not mistaken.
That was me.
If I'm not what?
Forget about him, it was me. It was me.
Tayyib. After Khalid's question, inshallah.
Okay.
Question says, what's the ruling on tattoos? And what's the proof? As a fa'idah for Khalid, obviously this wasn't his intention, but as a benefit to continue to further his studies and his training. Some of the ulama of Islam say, not all of them, but some of them say, it's not the best manners or etiquette to ask a question and demand the proof. Some of them, they say this. And they say one of the reasons why it's not the best thing to do is because someone could understand that you're trying to show them out. Which obviously that's not Khalid's intention. I know Khalid, you know what I mean? That's, we say as a fa'idah. As what? As a fa'idah. That's not his intention. If we're talking about sports or football, he'll definitely try to show me out or show me up. Okay? Maybe the Quran recitation, my tajweed, he would definitely try to what? Play me. But when it comes to ilm, I don't think he would try to do that. You gotta be what, Abdul Rakhib? Gotta keep it real, like the beans. These beans, inshallah, are going to stay here for some time. As a reminder of the authenticity of HD. There's no cosmetics.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if I could take
Al-Muhim. So I don't think that's Khalid's intention. I know that's not his intention now, but as a benefit. And the second reason why you shouldn't do it, they say, is because perhaps the one whom you ask, he may not remember the dalil. He may know the ruling. He may know the ruling. Huh, Islam? He what? He knows the ruling, but he may not have the ability to do what? Remember it. I understand this? And it's something which isn't strange. If you listen to many of the great muftis of this time, Sheikh bin Baz, you'll find oftentimes he may be asked a question, he says, I don't remember. I noticed the ruling though, but I may not remember the dalil. I'll go back, I'll refer, I'll research and give it to you. It happens. At the end of the day, tattoos in Islam are impermissible. It's haram to have a tattoo for a man and for a woman, for a child. And the dalil is the Prophet ﷺ statement and the authentic hadith collected by Bukhari and others. لَعْنَ اللَّهُ الْوَاشِمَةَ وَالْمُسْتَوْشِمَةَ. Is that Allah Azza wa Jal curses the giver of the tattoo and the receiver of the tattoo. The hadith is authentic. It's impermissible to get a tattoo. And there are different reasons behind it being impermissible. From those reasons, obviously, which everyone knows, is that the Prophet ﷺ said, is that these women change Allah's creation. Al-mughayyirat li khalqillah. They change Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation. Giving yourself a tattoo is permanent. You've altered Allah's creation. All right? Other ulama, or other reasons behind it being impermissible, they say, Ibn Hajar rahimahullah and others, they say, or they hold the view that blood is impure. That dam is impure. Blood is najis. All blood. Menstrual blood or other than menstrual blood. And when you get a tattoo, what happens? And the blood and the ink becomes what? And then it's permanently in your what? So some of them, I just mentioned as a fa'idah janibi, a subtlety of why the tattoo is haram as well. That's food for thought. And I don't necessarily agree that blood is najis. I don't take that opinion. The only blood that's najis is the blood of something which is najis itself, the animal, or blood of hayd and nifas. As far as a cut or a wound, it's not necessarily najis. And Allah knows best. Al-Muhim. Thirdly, some of the ulama, they say that getting a tattoo is a means of imitating the kuffar and the mushrikeen. And some of them say, and Allah knows best, Khalid, but some of them say is that tattoos and piercings are originally based off of offerings to gods and deities. And there's a well-known practice of idolaters and pagans. They would get tattoos as a means of serving and worshiping their false gods, goddesses, and deities. Now, if you stop and think about it now, you look at a cartoon or a movie or a show, whenever they're dealing with the history in the past, and whenever dealing with someone who worships idols, pagans, whatever, versus Christians, modern Christians, you'll always find those rural people or the people who are considered to be uncivilized or still savages, or the people that have not accepted Christianity, you'll find them in the movies always with what? Piercings and what? There's no question about that. There's no question about that. The Vikings have the what? The tattoos on their faces, on their heads, on their necks. And the good Bible-abiding Christians of England have what? No tattoos. That's not a what? Accident. That's not a what? That's not an accident. There are many different islands that you can go to, and you'll find the traditional and tribal piercings and tattoos. And their religion and their stable practice was connected with what? Shirk. That's not a what? That's not a mistake. But we don't need that. The hadith is more than enough. That just has a fa'idah. Is that some of the researchers, they say that these piercings and these tattoos have a clear foundation of what? Paganism. And worshiping other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I've given you a social dalil. And obviously the social dalil is not useless. These movies and these things in pop culture, they're not accidents. They're based off of facts. Everyone understand this? If you knew the amount of research that goes into different movies and shows, a lot of research. And that's why I have different movies and different shows that are more historically accurate than others. There's no question about that. And no one would limit the knowledge and the benefit just to what's in a book. Everyone understand this or not? And Allah surely knows best. Wallahu alam. Fadl Nafis.
Can I ask a question about the hadith?
Fadl.
When you say oil or perfume, can it also pertain to, like, let's say I'm using some oil for my beard? It's not really perfume, but maybe it has.
Yeah, it can pertain to the beard as well. The beard is a part of your hair. And the narration says that whoever has hair should honor it. Whoever has hair, فَلْيُكْرِمْهُ, he should honor it. If you're going to have hair, then honor your hair. Honor your hair. You don't have to be, as they say, a pretty boy, every 2 seconds checking your beard, combing, brushing, looking in the mirror, because that's not the best thing in the sunnah as well. But there's nothing wrong with being handsome and having nice things. And if you have hair, there's nothing wrong with looking after it, combing it, brushing it, oiling it, being sharp, shape up, whatever. Wallahu alam.
This was AD from Minneapolis, MN. Assalamu alaikum. What to do when one can tell, what to do when one can clearly tell when Qibla apps keep pointing at different directions in different places in the same building as Qibla?
Question from Minneapolis, as if the questioner is saying what to do when the Qibla act funny, or they're clearly inaccurate. Then don't use the Qibla act. Don't use the Qibla app, excuse me. Me personally, I never use the Qibla app. Not saying that you can't, I just normally use a compass myself. Whether it's a digital or whether it's an analog, whatever type of lens static, whatever compass, I just normally use a compass myself. Wallahu alam.
They said that the pole is moving towards Siberia, the North Pole. So the compass is becoming inaccurate.
Allahu alam. We have to contact our brothers and sisters who are scientists. Ask them. فَاسْأَلُوهَا إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. And those are definitely what? They're Ahlul Dhikr.
I don't know about it. I don't know anything about it. I just read, this is the article. Initials AA from Montreal, Canada. Assalamu alaikum, respected Sheikh. When my son was born, I didn't have the cash to slaughter 2 sheep. Now he is 2. What's the best to do with the meat? Barakallahu feek.
Wa fikum barakallah. May Allah bless you in both worlds. I mean, if you only slaughter 1 animal then inshallah ta'ala, hopefully there's nothing wrong with that. La bas, khalas, it's done. You didn't have the ability to do 2. Some of the fuqaha have explained the permissibility of doing 1. Some of them have explained the permissibility of doing 1. And also if a person wanted to slaughter 2 for a baby girl, la bas. If you have the strong desire to complete his rights now, bismillah, slaughter the animal, eat from it, give some as charity, give some as a gift, have a banquet, simple. You don't have to call it an aqiqah. It's no haraj, inshallah ta'ala. There's room, any issue. Wallahu alam.
Initials AF from London, UK. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. May Allah bless you. What is your advice for someone who is a little withdrawn and shy, and they will be going abroad to seek knowledge?
Question is from the UK. With regards to someone who's a little withdrawn and a little shy. They're going abroad to seek knowledge. What advice? Seek knowledge, bismillah. The shyness, if it's bad, if it's excessive, if it's an extreme type of shyness, if it's not an Islamic shyness, Islamically compliant, in which it leads to cowardice or leads to weakness, then bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, just seek knowledge. If you seek knowledge well, you study well, you benefit, the time will come in which you will be needed. The time will come in which you'll be summoned to speak or to talk or to enjoin the good and forbid the evil. Just wait for the time to come, inshallah ta'ala. Focus on seeking knowledge right now. When the time comes, when Allah Azza wa Jal wants it to come, it's going to come. And then inshallah ta'ala, take the opportunity to break your bad shyness. Keep your good shyness, by all means. Keep your what? Your good shyness, by all means. That's a virtue. Huh? Wallahu alam.
And this was UW from London, UK. Assalamu alaikum. I read in a few fatwa that ruqya doesn't diminish one's tawakkul. So what is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam referring to when he says in the hadith, they are those who do not make ruqya nor seek it? Barakallahu fiqh.
Fikum barakallah. The question is from where?
UK, London.
Tight. Question from London. I read in certain fatwa that ruqya does not diminish tawakkul. But what does the Prophet ﷺ mean when he says they are those who don't give ruqya nor seek it? First and foremost, the proper wording of the hadith, hum alladhina la yastarqun. They don't seek the ruqya. As far as the wording, the lafdha la yarqun, لا يرقون فإنها لفظة شاذة. هذه لفظة خطأ ما تثبت على النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام. The part that says they don't give ruqya is incorrect. It's not authentic. The correct version of the hadith is لا يسترقون. They don't seek it from others. That's first and foremost. And if the hadith is weak and if it's a mistake, then there's no need for any type of further explanation. لأن التأويل فرع عن التصحيح. التأويل إيش؟ فرع عن التصحيح. نؤول بما هو قد صح. إذا ما صح فلسنا بحاجة إلى أن نؤول نوفق ونجمع نرجح لأنه غير ثابت أصلا. So if it's inauthentic, then there's no need for us to deal with how to harmonize it or make it in harmony with other texts and proofs. Right, moving forward. The ulama of Islam, they say the reason why the Prophet ﷺ said that these people will be protected, they should not be punished, they should not be reckoned, is because those things that they do are all based off of strong tawakkul. Strong tawakkul. So if you go and you seek ruqya, and you tell someone that you're sick and you're ill, or a jinn is inside of me, or is magic on me, etc., it's not haram. It's not haram. But some of them, they say, it's a level of relatively weak tawakkul. It's a level of relatively weak tawakkul. And that's because you're turning towards other than Allah. You're turning towards other than Allah. Just like asking for money is a type of you turning to other than Allah. Even though it's not haram to ask for money with the proper conditions in the proper time. I need you to help me out, inshallah. Jazakallahu khairan. So that's it. It's not haram. But it's still my heart being inclined towards and hoping for the good of someone other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And هذا فيه نوع ضعف. That's a type of relatively low or weak tawakkul. Everyone understand this? But the Prophet never said that himself. That's the speech of the ulama explaining that hadith. Everyone understand this? Now, when we talk about medicine, and we talk about healing, you'll be shocked what you find of many of the Salaf al-Salih and the early ulama. What was their view on taking medicine and going to the doctors and things like this? Many of them would have refused and they would avoid it because they felt that it was not full submission to Allah's qadr. And they felt that it was weakening and lessening one's tawakkul and putting your trust and your reliance in something other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now we know the correct view, and Allah knows best, is that it's not necessarily disliked to get medicine and to go to the doctor. Sometimes it's recommended. It could be obligatory, depending on the situation. Al-Muhim is that many of the ulama, they held this view, that a person, when he becomes sick, he should submit to the qadr of Allah. If Allah will secure me, that's what He'll do, and if not, He's going to take my soul that He gave to me. All right? That may be extreme to some of you, but this was the view of many of them. Okay? At the end of the day, in brief, bikhtisar, it's not haram to seek ruqya. But if you're going to seek the ruqya, it has to be done in a proper way. Similar to asking for money. You're not allowed to humiliate yourself. and lower yourself and put yourself on a level in which you become a slave of this person. You're not allowed to abuse and annoy the one whom you ask for the ruqyah. And you're only to ask the ruqyah if it's a need and a necessity. And you're only to do the ruqyah in the proper way according to the need and the necessity. Wallahu a'lam. Any other questions from the floor? Fadda.
Well, what's the ruling on, or what's the relation between politics and the deen, and how is the Muslim in this country deal with certain political?
Question says, what is the relationship of politics and the religion? How do people in this country deal with it, handle it, etc.? Al-yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum. On this day I've completed for you my favor. All right? قل إن صلاتي ونسكي ومحياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين. The Quran affirms that Islam is complete. It's a total system of not just life, but also death. And we keep stressing this. If you pay attention in certain classes and khutbahs, we mention this, that it's not just a way of life, but it's also a way of what? Death. There are rulings on how you die, such as suicide. Is it permissible to kill yourself? That has nothing to do with life anymore. That's pertaining to what? Death. What do you do when you're on your deathbed? What do you say? What should you be requested to say? The money that you leave behind. All of these things pertain to leaving the dunya as well. Just like the aqeedah of death and what happens at the time of death. When nazi'ati gharqa. All right? All of these things pertain to death. So Islam is a way of life and a way of death. If it's a way of life and a death, then of course politics have to be included in that. Because politics is a major part of life and a major part of death. Politics is an integral part of the cycle of life. Rather, some people they say, politics is involved in every aspect of human life. Every single aspect of human life, there's what? Politics. Just like psychology is involved with what? Some people they say this, that is everything is based off of psychology. Everything that you do, from the color that you're wearing to your glasses, is based off of some type of behavior, some type of mental behavior, etc., etc., all right? So the point is, people who say, I don't like to get involved in politics, I don't like to deal with politics, many people, they repudiate statements like this. And they say, the man who says that is foolish. I don't like to get involved in politics. You have to get involved in politics on one level or another. Some people, they say that. Obviously, for the one to say, I'm not voting, I'm not dealing with this president, this king, this leader, this revolt, this coup, that's not a bad thing. And that's Islamically supported. But to be totally oblivious to what's going on around you, who's this, who's that, what's happening, is clearly going to be problematic. And if you're not dealing with it, you have to have some type of what? Basic knowledge of it to protect yourself. That this person, for example, is a slimy person, very slimy person. If you're totally oblivious to political movement and goals, you may be taken advantage of by this slime bag or this slime ball. It's a reality. You don't know how to protect yourself. His goal, everything about him is politics, political. He's coming to you for political gain. And you have no knowledge of it, you'll be what? You'll be taken advantage of. Everyone understand this? And at the same time, a person says, I don't like politics, I don't get involved in politics, meaning I stay away from it. That's fine. But it doesn't mean that you're totally what? Blinded of the reality of life and of men. Clear on this or not? Al-Maqsood, what's important is that if politics are a part of life, for the black, the white, the yellow, the red, and the green, the man, the woman, and the child, the rich and the poor, then of course there's going to be rulings in Al-Islam, because Islam is a total way of life and death. Everyone understand the equation? 1 زائد 1 equals وهكذا. Everyone understand this? So that's the bottom line. So the position of the Muslim of politics is the position of the Quran and the Sunnah. Whatever's in the Kitab and the Sunnah regarding leaders and leadership, we have to follow and obey. Whatever is not mentioned in the Quran and the Sunnah, generally or specifically, we're free to do. And if there are general principles, we follow those general principles. Even within democracy, for those who say yes, you should vote or you have to vote, there are general guidelines of Quran and Sunnah. Lying is always haram unless it's a necessity. Cheating is haram unless it's a what? A necessity. Greed and thirst for power is bad, is looked down upon. وهكذا. These general principles are universal. They're what? Totally universal. Being loyal to your leader, obeying your leader, that's what? Universal. For any time and for any place. Everyone understand this? So therefore, some people say there's no politics in Islam. Some people say everything in Islam is political. Obviously, the correct way is the what? The balanced view. And as we've said before, Adam, and many other times, the Muslims live in the United States. Muslims are being born in the United States. Muslims are dying in the United States. People have second, third generation from immigrant countries, let alone people that are indigenous to the United States. People that never came from another country, born and raised in America. My father, my grandmother, my lineage goes back to slaves. My lineage goes back to Native Americans. My lineage goes back to. Let alone people who come to America and you're the second generation or the third generation. People are living and dying in America. And most of them are not going to die in another country. They're not making hijrah. They're not going to another country. They're going to be born, raised, and die what? On this soil. So if that's the fact and if that's the reality, then how can one say then there's no political involvement whatsoever? That just doesn't make any sense. If we were just visiting, that's one thing. If our communities were totally segregated and separated, maybe one could say, this is where the Muslim compound is, the Muslim farm. La bas, mumkin. And even then, there still will be some people who represent the Muslim community. Everyone understand this? But for us to take the view that we should be totally oblivious, removed, في يعني اعتزال كامل from politics, la. You can't say that. Because you have thousands and millions of people here. Babies, women, children, businesses, money, people's rights, property. It's not a small thing. And only an irresponsible person would talk like that with those lives and those rights and those people's honor. And politics are a necessity, but done in the proper way, with precaution. That's in brief. Wallahu alam.
Speak Truth, initials AR from London, UK. Assalamu alaikum. May Allah preserve you. What is the ruling on replica clothes and bags? Not lying to the people about authenticity. Barakallahu feek.
Question from London about replica bags, clothes. Counterfeit or fake or whatever word you wish to use. What's the ruling on that? And not lying to people. Start off with the easy part of the question. If someone asks, you tell them. Or if it's well known through the price. You know you're not going to buy a pair of Gucci. Inshallah, no fake Rolexes. Bi-idhnillah. Inshallah. But okay, sorry, no problem, Rolex. No man in his right mind is going to walk into your store and think he's going to buy a date just for $100. If he does, he's Majnoon. You're not going to buy a Rolex for what? $100. So I don't think there's no bayan that's needed. You say this is replica, this is fake, this is counterfeit. Anyone who's looking for a what? Rolex. Why would somebody buy a Rolex unless he knows the specific value of a what? Of a Rolex. Everyone understand this? A man who's looking for a timepiece, he can buy it from anywhere. Anywhere. And buy a simple, basic watch that may last him for years. It's waterproof, it's water resistant. He never has to change the battery. But if you're looking for a what? Rolex or a Movado, what does that mean? You know the value of the what? You've seen it in a movie, you've heard it in a song, a rap video. Everyone understand this? Everyone understand this or not? You know the concept of what? Of a Rolex. Or of a Fendi bag or Gucci shoes or whatever you're looking for. What? Of a brand name, an expensive brand name. So I think that's a waste of time for you to even speak about the ruling on that. It's already known that this is not a $100 watch. This is a $10,000, $20,000 watch. And it's in your store for $200. So there's no need for any further what? Explanation, let alone the weight and how it looks. Clear on this or not? As far as is it permissible to sell replica things and fake things and counterfeit things, هذا نقطة الإشكال. This is the problematic issue here. Is it permissible or not? So one way of looking at it is it's not permissible. It's cheating. It's ghish. And such as, since you want to bring up Rolexes, it's a crime to sell counterfeit Rolexes in the United States. A crime. And some people may even say a federal crime. In which if you're caught doing it, you face serious jail time. Serious jail time. And it's not like selling fake sneakers or fake polo or fake this. No, they've made it a crime to counterfeit our engineered craftsmanship. You're disrespecting our company, the millions of dollars in the years that we've been making these watches, and someone comes and puts his name on it and it's fake and it's a piece of trash. It's a major problem. So you have an issue with the law of the land now. Everyone understand this? You have an issue of bribery. How do the fake watches come into the United States from China? Who's paid? Whose hand, whose palm is greased for that illegal thing to come? You're dealing with problems now. Everyone understand this? As far as is it haram in the Sharia, then I would say this. And Allahu Alam, my humble opinion, is that we're talking about million, if not billion-dollar companies here. Conglomerates, people that have been making money for years. They have money and investments from the 40s, the 30s, the 50s, millions from then, untouched money. Are they being harmed? Are they being bothered? Their funds, their wealth, is it being diminished at the least by you having a stand on a sidewalk and you sell a $100 watch that the people already know is what? Fake. I don't think that's realistic. I don't think they're being touched at the what? At the least. Let alone, if you want to get technical, Nuruddin, let's be honest, how many people today what? Put out of business. How many smaller companies and mom and pop shops did they steamroll? Literally put out of business. So you have to be realistic now. I'm not saying to counterfeit or to cheat, but let's be realistic. The person that you're buying the watches from, they have a business. How many mouths are being fed in China for you supporting this replica company? People have no money. People that don't want their daughters going into prostitution. They don't want their sons going into prostitution while they have the bilad. Boys being sold as sex slaves. They don't want their children working in a sweatshop. This may be their only bread and water. Their only noodles that they're eating is you supporting that counterfeit merchandise. So all of these things have to be kept into what? Without a question. So to say it's haram to sell replica things is something that I can't necessarily say, and I wouldn't say in my humble opinion. Wallahu ta'ala alam. This will be our last question tonight, inshallah.
And this was JK from Phoenix, Arizona. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Is it allowed for an unmarried sister in her early 20s to leave her family to live on her own in the same state?
Question from Maryland?
Phoenix,
Arizona, excuse me. Is it permissible for a sister in her 20s to leave her family and live in a different home, a different house within the same state, right? I would say it depends on the culture. It depends on the culture. Where I come from, my culture is normal. Someone who grows up, they go to school, they get a job, they have an apartment, it's not a bad thing. It's not looked down upon, rather it's a good thing. Especially for a man, a boy child. You're still living with your parents in your 20s is looked down upon. That's my culture. Other cultures may be different. People come from Palestine or Yemen or Pakistan or Somalia. It may be looked down upon. How can you leave your parents' house? As a man, you have to stay there. We'll build another floor for you. We'll make another side entrance for you and your wife. You can't leave your parents. You have to look after them, and everyone lives together. We have breakfast together, lunch together, dinner together, etc. It may be looked down upon. Let alone a woman, it may be even worse. Why are you living by yourself? Do you have a boyfriend? Are you making zina? Etc. So you have to take into consideration the cultural reference. And one of the most important fiqh principles is that al-ada muhakkama. The custom is the rule. The custom is the judge, as long as there's no specific teaching from Quran and Sunnah. Intabih, the shatr al-akhir. As long as there's no specific teaching of Quran and Sunnah. If it's left open, then the custom is what? Is the rule. So if it's culturally looked down upon and you're going to be accused and it makes your parents sad and upset and they'll accuse you of things, then don't do it. It's either going to be disliked or maybe haram. As far as if it's not, it's okay, then there's nothing wrong with it. Traveling without a mahram is not like living in a city. You don't necessarily need a mahram. As long as you're safe, as long as you're protected, and as long as you're safeguarding your honor and your family's honor. Wallahu ta'ala alam. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا وإمامنا محمد. جزاكم الله خيرا.